England and France are renewing their one in, one out refugee rule. So every now and then, I actually look into Europe as to what they're doing with their refugees because I often think that US policymakers are watching them and trying to get ideas. I've seen that with like third country resettlement agreements that the United States is in, where somebody who could get asylum in the United States but doesn't qualify for it, but gets other types of protection like withholding or torture protection, end up getting transferred to other countries, basically making those countries responsible for someone already in the United States, or other protocols such as the Remain in Mexico policy that the Trump administration passed in his first administration, where everybody was just stayed in Mexico while their asylum cases were pending in the United States. So there's a history of using other countries as buffer states, and the European Union has been doing it, I think, longer than the U.S. has with their own refugees that have come from the Middle East. So the situation complicated itself when England decided to separate from the EU. So there are EU protocols for refugees. Basically, they're called the Dublin Protocols that all EU countries have to follow. But because England isn't a member of the EU anymore, if an asylum seeker can make it through Europe and manage to touch English soil, they might be able to claim asylum in England, which again doesn't follow the Dublin Protocols. The Dublin Protocols work in the following way: if somebody touches EU land, the very first country that they arrive in has to process their asylum claim, and they have to stay in that country, not the rest of Europe, but just in that one country until their asylum claim is over. Usually that means Italy or Greece because most people arrive through the Mediterranean and arrive in Italy and Greece. So Italy and Greece have a very large refugee population. And it's they're not as nice countries for refugees. So for that reason, a lot of people don't want to have their case processed in Italy or Greece because it could take sometimes up to a year or longer. And if they end up gaining asylum, they are stuck in Italy or Greece until they've finally gained citizenship, which can take years, delaying family reunification. Sometimes they don't speak Italian, they don't speak Greece, they speak English as their second language from the Middle East, in which case they really want to make it to the EU. I mean, to England, because, well, they speak English there. In any case, once an asylum seeker is processed or fingerprinted or touches Italy or Greece, if they end up getting caught in France or any other EU country, they can be sent back to Italy or Greece. But if they make it to England, then they can't be removed simply from England until August 2025 under the one in, one out policy. So if you're caught, I believe it's about 14 days crossing the English Channel, then under this protocol that started in August 2025, they can be sent back to France. And in return, France gets to get rid of some of their refugees. So France, if the refugee didn't apply initially in France, which is very rare, then they can be sent back to Italy or Greece, or they can be sent now back to England, alleviating the refugee population there. So that's what France gets out of it, basically deterring all this migration movement. Thanks for listening. If you want to read the whole article and the sources, go to The Migration on Substack.